Lily sat cross-legged on the worn wooden floor of the school auditorium, her tiny fingers twisting the edges of her script. The lights were dim, and the faint scent of dust and polish hung in the air. All around her, the echoes of distant footsteps and chatter from rehearsal volunteers bounced off the walls, but she felt completely alone. She glanced at the empty row of chairs near the stage and her chest tightened. That was where her mom should have been, smiling, clapping, maybe whispering, "You've got this, sweetheart." But she never had been there. Her father, the CEO everyone in town talked about, was always somewhere else, on a plane, in a boardroom, or staring at glowing screens, too busy to notice the little milestones of his only child. Birthdays had come and gone with gifts delivered by assistants. Recitals had been performed to an empty seat. And yet, Lily loved him. She wanted him to be proud. She just didn't know if he could ever be. Her lips trembled as she hugged her script closer to her chest. The play was important to her. It wasn't just lines and songs. It was her chance to shine, to be seen. She needed someone in the audience who would truly cheer for her. And that's when she spotted Julia, the drama teacher, arranging props on the stage. With a quiet, almost shy voice, Lily whispered, "Ma'am, can you pretend to be my mom for the school play?" Julia froze mid-step, surprised by the intensity behind the words. She slowly turned to the little girl, kneeling so she could meet her gaze. Lily's eyes were wide, glistening with a mix of hope and fear. I don't want anyone else there," Lily admitted softly. I want someone to look at me the way my mom would, proud and happy, not just clapping because it's polite." Julia's heart ached. She had seen lonely children before, but Lily's small, fragile frame carrying such heavy emotions struck her differently. She reached out, placing a gentle hand over Lily's. I can do that," she whispered, her voice tender. "I can be your mom for tonight. I'll cheer the loudest, I promise." A small, shaky smile appeared on Lily's face, and she nodded, squeezing Julia's hand tightly. "Thank you, really," she murmured. For the first time in what felt like forever, she imagined someone in the audience who truly cared, who would see her for her. The emptiness inside her heart softened just a little. The rest of rehearsal passed in a blur of lines and stage directions, but Lily's spirits lifted with every encouraging word Julia whispered. For the first time, she felt like she wasn't completely alone. And as she left the auditorium that day, script clutched tightly against her chest, a small spark of hope flickered inside her. The night of the school play arrived, and the auditorium was alive with the soft murmur of parents and families finding their seats. The lights overhead cast a warm glow over the polished wooden floor, and the stage, adorned with colorful backdrops and props, looked magical. Lily stood backstage, peeking through the curtains, her heart hammering in her chest. Her small hands clenched her script, knuckles white, and her stomach twisted into knots. Normally, this moment would have been lonely, another empty seat, another performance to be applauded by strangers, but tonight felt different. Julia had promised to be there. She had promised to cheer. And the thought of someone she trusted in the audience steadied Lily's trembling hands. Lily took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "I can do this, I can do this." Her voice wavered, but there was determination beneath it. The other children giggled and whispered behind her, practicing their lines, but Lily hardly noticed. All she could focus on was the front row, imagining Julia sitting there, smiling and proud, the way her own mother might have. As the lights dimmed and the curtain rose, the audience erupted into polite applause. Lily's turn was coming, and panic started to creep back in. She could hear the rustle of programs, the quiet coughs, and the faint smell of popcorn mixed with stage paint. Then, she spotted her. Julia, sitting in the very front row, waving enthusiastically with a bright, encouraging smile. Relief washed over Lily in a warm rush, and her fear began to melt. When it was finally her cue, Lily stepped onto the stage, holding her script tightly at first. Then she caught Julia's gaze, and something shifted inside her. The words she had practiced so many times poured out smoothly, full of confidence. Each line, each gesture was punctuated by Julia's encouraging nods and applause, louder than anyone else's. Lily felt seen, recognized, and valued in a way she had never experienced before. By the time the final scene approached, Lily was glowing. The audience clapped politely, but her eyes never left Julia, who was on her feet, clapping, cheering, and smiling just for her. When the curtain fell, Lily ran into the front row, almost knocking Julia over in her excitement, and hugged her tightly. Thank you for being here," she whispered. I really felt like someone was proud of me." Julia held her close, whispering back, "You were amazing, Lily. I've always known you would be." And in that moment, surrounded by the applause of strangers but anchored by Julia's unwavering support, Lily realized that family wasn't always about blood. It could be about love, care, and presence. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she truly belonged. The applause still echoed in Lily's ears long after the curtain had fallen. She clutched her script to her chest, her cheeks flushed with excitement and relief. Backstage, the other children were chattering and laughing, recounting their lines and funny mishaps, but Lily's mind was elsewhere. She felt lighter than she had in years, yet a familiar pang tugged at her heart. The seat where her father should have been had been empty once again. Hours later, after the hall had emptied and the lights were dimmed, Lily returned home with Julia's encouraging words still ringing in her ears. The apartment was silent, save for the faint hum of the city outside the windows. Her father's briefcase lay by the door, untouched, a stark reminder of how much he had missed. She placed her script on the kitchen table and sank into a chair, staring at the empty chair across from her. For a long moment, she imagined her father walking in, smiling, asking about her performance. But the sound of the door opening finally revealed reality. Her father, weary and tense, stepping inside, suit wrinkled from travel. "Hey, Lily," he said, glancing briefly at her script before dropping his keys on the counter. "How was the play?" His voice was distracted, as if the day's meetings had followed him home. Lily's small shoulders slumped. It was fine," she murmured. She didn't tell him about Julia, about the warmth she had felt, about the first time she truly felt proud and loved during the performance. She didn't want him to feel guilty or make excuses. He already seemed too busy, too tired, too absent. Her father noticed the lack of excitement in her voice. "Lily, you don't sound happy," he said, finally pausing and looking at her properly. For a fleeting second, the walls between them seemed to tremble. Did something happen? Lily hesitated. She thought about telling him, thought about explaining the lonely days and the empty seats. But instead, she chose a softer truth. "I had someone in the audience who was proud of me," she whispered. Her words were cautious, but her eyes searched his for understanding. He frowned, a mixture of guilt and realization washing over him. He had missed too many moments, and now he was faced with the stark truth of how much it had affected his daughter. "Lily, I'm sorry," he said, voice heavy. He kneeled beside her chair, meeting her gaze with sincerity. "I should have been there. I promise, I'll try to do better." For the first time in a long time, Lily felt a flicker of hope that her father could change, that he might finally show up for her. She smiled faintly, leaning into the comfort of the moment. Though Julia had been the one to fill the gap tonight, Lily realized that perhaps there was still a chance for her father to step in too, and that made the quiet apartment feel a little less empty. The next morning, the apartment felt different. Sunlight spilled through the windows, highlighting the neat piles of papers and half-empty coffee cups that always seemed to follow her father around. But today, it wasn't just the sunlight that warmed the space. Her father was there, really there, sitting at the kitchen table with a gentle smile that was unusual for someone usually buried in work. "Lily," he began, his voice careful, almost tentative, I wanted to see you after last night. I know I've missed so many things, and I'm sorry. I want to make it right." Lily's heart skipped. This was the moment she had dreamed of silently for years, but years of disappointment had taught her caution. She looked at him, studying his face, searching for sincerity. And there it was, something real, something he hadn't shown before. I had someone proud of me last night," she admitted, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Ms. Julia. She cheered for me. She made me feel like I mattered." Her father's eyes softened, guilt and awe mingling in their depths. "I should have been that person, Lily. I promise I will try. Not just try, I'll be there. For your plays, your birthdays, all the little things I've missed." He reached across the table, hesitating for a moment before placing his hand over hers. "I don't want you to feel alone anymore." Tears welled in Lily's eyes, but this time they were different, tears of hope, of relief, of a heart slowly opening. She squeezed his hand gently. "I'd like that," she whispered. That afternoon, Julia stopped by with a small congratulatory gift, a handmade bookmark with a tiny star painted on it. She knelt beside Lily, her eyes twinkling. "I'm so proud of you," she said softly. "Remember, no matter what, you have people who care about you. Always." Lily hugged her tightly, feeling a surge of warmth. She realized that family didn't always have to be defined by blood. Sometimes, it was about the people who showed up, who celebrated you, and who believed in you when you needed it most. Later that evening, her father picked her up from school, staying longer than usual to ask about her day, her friends, and her homework. They walked home together, a small but meaningful connection beginning to take root. Lily glanced at him, smiling. For the first time, she felt the quiet, steady assurance that she wasn't just a child in the shadows of a CEO's life, she was someone who mattered. And as she lay in bed that night, thinking of Julia's cheering smile and her father's hand over hers, Lily felt a rare and precious thing, complete and perfect happiness. The loneliness that had once defined her life had softened, replaced by hope, love, and the promise of family in all its unexpected forms.